Imagine growing up without love. Being treated as though you do not belong. And still finding the courage to believe that you deserve a better life. This is the story of Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte's unforgettable novel about love, independence, suffering, and finding your own voice. Jane Eyre is an orphaned girl who grows up in the home of her cruel aunt, Mrs. Reed. Jane is treated very differently from her cousins. She is lonely, neglected, and often made to feel worthless. One day, after being punished for defending herself, Jane is locked inside the terrifying Red Room. The experience frightens her deeply. Soon afterward, she is sent away to Lowood School, a strict institution for orphaned girls. Life at Lowood is harsh. The students are cold and hungry, and they are forced to live under severe discipline. But Jane does not give up. She studies. She learns. And slowly, she becomes an intelligent and independent young woman. Years later, Jane accepts a position as a governess at Thornfield Hall, a large and mysterious mansion. There, she teaches a young girl named Adele. But Thornfield has a strange atmosphere. At night, Jane sometimes hears mysterious laughter echoing through the corridors. She does not understand where it comes from. Then she meets the master of the house. His name is Edward Rochester. Rochester is wealthy, intelligent, and mysterious. He is not charming in the traditional way. He can be impatient and sometimes cruel. But Jane sees something deeper in him. And Rochester soon realizes that Jane is different from everyone else. She speaks honestly. She does not flatter him. And she refuses to be intimidated by his wealth or social position. Slowly, their conversations become more personal. Their friendship turns into love. But Jane knows that society considers them unequal. Rochester is a wealthy gentleman. Jane is a poor governess with no family fortune. Yet Jane believes that their souls are equal. Eventually, Rochester proposes marriage. Jane accepts. For the first time in her life, she believes she has finally found a home. But on their wedding day, everything changes. Just as Jane and Rochester are about to marry, a shocking secret is revealed. Rochester is already married. His wife, Bertha Mason, is alive. She has been hidden inside Thornfield Hall because of her severe mental illness. The mysterious laughter Jane heard at night. It was Bertha. Rochester explains that his marriage happened years earlier and that he has been trapped in a terrible situation ever since. But Jane refuses to become his secret. She loves him. Yet she also loves her own dignity. So she makes one of the hardest decisions of her life. She leaves Thornfield. Jane has almost no money. She has nowhere to go. She becomes exhausted and nearly loses hope. But eventually, she finds shelter with a kind family. There she meets St. John Rivers, a serious and ambitious clergyman. St. John wants Jane to marry him and accompany him to India as a missionary. But Jane realizes that he does not truly love her. He wants a wife who will serve his purpose. Jane refuses. She will not sacrifice her identity simply to satisfy someone else's expectations. Then, one night, Jane hears something strange. A voice calling her name. She believes it is Rochester. Jane returns to Thornfield. But the great mansion is no longer the place she remembers. It has been destroyed by fire. Bertha Mason started the fire and died after jumping from the roof. Rochester tried to save everyone. But he was badly injured. He lost his eyesight and one of his hands. Jane finally finds him living in isolation. He is no longer the powerful man she once knew. He is vulnerable. He is broken. And now Jane has a choice. She could walk away. Instead, she chooses love. But this time, their relationship is different. Jane is no longer a powerless governess. She has become an independent woman who knows her own worth. Rochester has also changed. Their love is no longer based on wealth, status, or dependence. It is based on equality. They marry. And Jane finally finds the home and happiness she had searched for throughout her entire life. But the greatest victory is not simply that Jane finds love. It is that she never loses herself in the process. She survives cruelty. She survives loneliness. She walks away from the man she loves when staying would mean betraying her principles. And when she returns, she does so as an equal. That is what makes Jane Eyre so powerful. It is a love story. But it is also a story about freedom. About a woman refusing to accept that her poverty makes her less valuable. About choosing dignity over comfort. And about discovering that true love should never require you to lose yourself. Jane begins her life as a lonely orphan who believes she has no place in the world. But by the end, she has created a life on her own terms. And perhaps that is the greatest message of Charlotte Bronte's novel. You can lose your home. You can lose your wealth. You can even lose the person you love. But if you refuse to lose yourself, you can still find your way home.